Smoke nerf will not come to live servers. Smoke's vulnerability. Recent seasons have seen multiple hidden passives removed from operators, think Withstand and Zofia. Smoke was next up to reduce the amount of lore-centered mechanics in the game. Your passionate feedback has shown that his toxic gas immunity is important both narratively and mechanically to his character, to the wider community. For that reason, this change will not make it to live servers. This is a big part of why we encourage you to test upcoming changes on the test server. Sometimes changes don't mesh with how we all experience the game, and that's all right. Your feedback is important, and we want to make it clear that it is considered when working through changes like this. Thank you. Wow. You know, I was really... I'm not going to lie, man. I was really cynical about this. I was kind of under the impression they were just going to push it on through. And I'm pleasantly surprised. I'm pleasantly satisfied with what Ubisoft has done here. And I think it kind of reinforces the idea of expressing feedback in a way that's not toxic, right? You can get a little heated. Something else they said on everyone's favorite bird app, we also see your concerns about LMGs. We're working on it, and we'll keep you updated as soon as we have more information to share. So at least calling attention to that, I'm happy about that. That's good communication. This is already a huge improvement communication-wise, and I can't see anybody having a reason to complain about it. We've kind of started a conversation about operator passives. What passives should stay in the game? Should passives stay in the game at all? I think there's a case to be made for some passives staying in the game, and I think there's a case for some passives to not stay in the game. Everybody's pretty familiar with how I feel about Withstand. Zofia Withstand was basically a free second life that other operators didn't get with no sound cue. Kind of dumb. Doc and Finca have to expel some of their gadgetry in order to get a chance at a similar mechanic. It's involved in the actual gadget economy of the game, and it kind of lines up with what they do. They're both medic characters. Makes sense, you know, like, and Thunderbird can revive people with their stations, right? Every medicine-based operator, right? Every healing operator, they all have variations of that mechanic. So it's logically consistent. They're not doing something that's outside of the realm of what you think they should be doing. Another dumb passive that they got rid of was Dekebi can make everybody have to turn off their cell phone. At one point, everybody had to turn off their cell phone except for Echo. And the only reason that was the case was because Echo's like a computer guy. And he found a way around it because he's a smart person. That has nothing to do with what Echo's job is. That has nothing to do with what Dekebi's job is. It's a completely superfluous connection that's made for the purpose of adding depth when it doesn't really add any depth. It's just a strange thing that's kind of thrown in there that is going to confuse players. Now, you could probably do this mechanic. You could probably add exceptions to Dekebi's calls if there was a rule that was applied to the conditions of what has to be done for an operator to not be affected by Dekebi's calls. One of these is mute jammers. If you're in the range of a mute jammer, you don't get affected by the call because mute cuts off wireless connections in between any kind of gadget interactions. That's not only a logical thing from a gameplay design point of view because it's a jammer, it jams things, but it also happens to be a good element of counterplay that you can throw into the game to give players a little bit more flexibility in dealing with a character that literally can have influence throughout the course of the round by just hitting a button. Another weird passive they had was that Ella and Zofia are a little bit resistant to each other's concussive gadget effects. They're the only operators in the game that really employ those kinds of mechanics. So it kind of feels like this weird sort of like duel that's going on between two characters that might get brought or might not get brought. One idea that had to keep that sort of concussive resistance mechanic in the game was if you picked up Rook armor, and then everyone who got Rook armor got the benefit of the concussive resistance. It's probably not a perfect solution, but it's at least a consistent rule that can apply to a number of different operators besides Ela if certain conditions are met. One interesting passive mechanic that I think could be considered, I always thought it'd be kind of interesting if there were more down but not out mechanics that were done in a way that wasn't like cheap and cheesy. I think that if Smoke had an extra gas grenade, why not give him the ability to like pop it when he's in down but not out? Like the common argument that was made against Zof Withstand is that, oh, well, Doc can do it, well, Finka can do it. Well, yeah, it's actually integrated into the gadget economy. So I don't think the argument should be, okay, we remove Zofia Withstand, now let's remove every other passive. I think we should just try to add more mechanics and more depth to the game that makes sense, that adds flavor to it without adding cheapness. Like, don't take away the Doc revival. Don't take away Finka revive. Maybe nerf her LMG. Just a little bit. Or do something. I don't know. Maybe don't nerf anything. We've had too many nerfs. Even if the nerf is a good nerf, people are going to freak out because we've had so many of them recently. Don't take away the Aruni punch, okay? Her weapons stink. Her good weapon got dumpstered, and she has a DMR and a pistol. Like, yeah, her laser gates are pretty powerful, but they're not really, like, dedicated utility burn, right? You can't bring her by herself. You need a Jaeger still. She can't frag nearly as well as Jaeger, even. I mean, even Jaeger, after his assault rifle got nerfed a million times. What does Aruni have? She has a dumpstered SMG and a DMR. Her fragging options are severely limited compared to her peers. I don't get the point in removing the arm punch thing. And also, we're going back into the whole argument about conveying game mechanics through visual design. Smoke had the filters on his back. When people were saying that he had the filters on his back, that's why they should keep it. They weren't saying, Marealism, right? They weren't making a Marealism argument. The argument is, if you're going to design something in a certain way, that to look a certain way, why wouldn't you model the mechanic after that? Because you can convey a lot of information without having to explain it with good visual design. You know, and Aruni's got the robot arm, like, that was literally the whole point of the character design. You know, you don't have to pick one or the other. Bad passives bad, good passives good. Okay, there's nothing wrong with a passive mechanic. It just has to be applied to the game in a logical way and in a sensible way without feeling cheap or broken. And that's all I think we learned from this Smoke argument, and I'm glad that Ubisoft listened to people. And I hope this sets a precedent moving forward here. I mean, not like there wasn't always a precedent, but yeah, I'm just happy they listened. Right? I'm happy Ubisoft listened, and I'm happy that we managed to get a W here. So yeah, thanks for complaining, everybody. Thanks for expressing your feedback on Reddit, I guess, and Twitter in a logical, formulated way. I know that everybody, you know, some people are gonna say weird, out-of-pocket shit whenever they talk to a game developer. I don't think that's what happened here. I think most people were... this was one of those hot button kind of topics where I felt like everybody was kind of on board, regardless of whether you were highly involved in the competitive scene, whether you just played the game casually, or a little bit of both. So, yeah. Good job on this one, everybody. And good job, Ubisoft. Thank you for listening again. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Deuces.